Imagine a weapon traveling 15 times faster than the speed of sound. A missile so fast that from launch to impact, a city could have only a few minutes to react. Now imagine that missile heading toward one of the most heavily defended airspaces in the world. That is the scenario analysts began discussing after Iran claimed it had launched its Fatah hypersonic missile toward Israeli targets during the escalating conflict between the two countries. The missile, unveiled in 2023 by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, is designed to travel at speeds between Mach 13 and Mach 15, more than 18,000 kilometers per hour. At those speeds, a missile launched from western Iran could theoretically reach targets in Israel in less than 10 minutes. But speed is only part of the story. Iran claims the Fatah missile can maneuver during flight, allowing it to evade missile defense systems designed to intercept traditional ballistic missiles. That claim immediately triggered global attention, because Israel's defense network, including Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow system, is widely considered one of the most advanced missile defense architectures in the world. Yet, even advanced defenses face a difficult challenge when dealing with weapons traveling at hypersonic speeds. These missiles can change direction in the atmosphere, fly unpredictable trajectories, and reduce the time available for radar tracking and interceptor launches. In simple terms, they compress the battlefield timeline. Instead of hours or dozens of minutes to respond, defenders may have only seconds. And that is why hypersonic weapons are rapidly becoming one of the most important technologies in modern warfare. The United States, China, and Russia are all investing billions of dollars into developing similar systems. Now Iran claims it has joined that race. But here's the key question. Did Iran truly fire a Mach 15 hypersonic missile capable of defeating Israel's missile defenses? Or is the reality more complicated than the headlines suggest? Because when it comes to hypersonic weapons, speed alone does not decide the outcome. What matters even more is how the missile travels, how defenses respond, and whether interception is still possible. And understanding that battle between missile technology and missile defense could reveal the real balance of power in the Middle East. To understand why the Fatah hypersonic missile has generated so much global attention, we need to look at how this weapon is designed to actually work. At its core, the Fatah is believed to be a solid-fuel, medium-range ballistic missile developed by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. But unlike traditional ballistic missiles, which follow a predictable arc through space before falling toward their targets, the Fatah is designed to travel in a much more complex flight profile. The missile begins with a powerful solid-fuel rocket booster that rapidly accelerates it to hypersonic speed. Hypersonic speed generally refers to anything above Mach 5 times the speed of sound. Iran claims the Fatah can reach speeds of Mach 13 to Mach 15, which means it could travel more than 18,000 kilometers per hour. At that speed, the missile could cross the entire distance between Iran and Israel in just a few minutes. But what makes hypersonic missiles different is not only speed, it is their ability to maneuver during flight. Traditional ballistic missiles leave the atmosphere and then descend toward their target along a predictable trajectory. Because of this, missile defense systems can track them and calculate where they will land. Hypersonic weapons are designed to complicate that process. The Fatah is believed to carry a maneuverable re-entry vehicle, which allows the warhead to adjust its path as it travels through the atmosphere. Instead of following a fixed arc, the missile can change direction, making it more difficult for interceptors to predict where it will be seconds later. Some reports also suggest the missile uses a movable nozzle system, allowing it to control its trajectory while traveling at extremely high speeds. This combination of speed and maneuverability is what makes hypersonic weapons so challenging for missile defenses, because interception requires 3 steps: detection, tracking, and interception. If a missile changes course while traveling at several kilometers per second, the defense system must constantly update its calculations. Even a small delay could allow the missile to slip through the defense network. That is why countries around the world are racing to develop both hypersonic weapons and hypersonic defense systems. But even with these advanced capabilities, there's still an important question. Because building a hypersonic missile is one thing, proving that it can reliably evade the world's most advanced missile defenses is something else entirely. To understand the real threat posed by a hypersonic missile like Iran's Fatah, the most important factors are the numbers: its speed, range, warhead capacity, and the extremely short time defenders have to react. Let's begin with speed. Iran claims the Fatah missile can travel between Mach 13 and Mach 15. Mach numbers refer to multiples of the speed of sound. At sea level, the speed of sound is roughly 1,235 kilometers per hour. That means a Mach 15 missile could theoretically travel around 18,000 kilometers per hour. At that velocity, the missile moves roughly 5 kilometers every second. To put that into perspective, the entire distance between western Iran and Israel, approximately 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers, could be covered in 7 to 10 minutes depending on the flight path. That creates a major challenge for missile defense systems, because before any interceptor can be launched, three things must happen. First, the missile launch must be detected. Second, radar systems must calculate the trajectory. Third, interceptor missiles must be launched and guided toward the incoming threat. All of this must occur in minutes or even seconds. Next is the missile's range. Public estimates suggest the Fatah has a range of roughly 1,400 kilometers, although some analysts believe extended versions could approach 2,000 kilometers. That places Israel, U.S. bases in the Persian Gulf, and many regional targets within reach. Then there is the warhead. While exact details remain classified, medium-range ballistic missiles of this type often carry warheads weighing between 350 and 500 kilograms. These warheads can contain high explosives designed to destroy infrastructure, military facilities, or hardened targets. Finally, there's the issue of detection time. Radar systems may detect a missile launch within seconds, but tracking a maneuvering hypersonic weapon is far more complicated than tracking a traditional ballistic missile. Because the missile may change direction during the final phase of flight, interceptors must constantly update their targeting calculations. If a missile traveling at Mach 15 changes its path even slightly, the interception window could shrink dramatically. In real terms, defenders might have only 2 to 3 minutes between confirmed detection and potential impact. And that is why hypersonic weapons are viewed by many military analysts as one of the most disruptive technologies in modern warfare. They compress time, reduce reaction windows, and place enormous pressure on missile defense systems designed for slower threats. When analysts examine a potential missile confrontation between Iran and Israel, they usually describe it as a battle between offensive missile power and layered missile defense. Iran's strategy is built around its missile arsenal. Tehran views missiles as one of its most important deterrence tools against technologically superior militaries such as Israel and the United States. Instead of competing with Israel in air power or naval strength, Iran has invested heavily in ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and hypersonic systems designed to strike targets across the region. Missiles like the Fatah are intended to challenge Israel's defensive shield by combining very high speed with maneuverability during flight, which could make interception more difficult for conventional missile defense systems. On the Israeli side, the defense strategy is based on a multi-layered air defense network. This system includes 3 main layers: Iron Dome, designed to intercept short-range rockets and artillery; David's Sling, designed to intercept medium-range missiles and cruise missiles; Arrow systems, Arrow 2 and Arrow 3, designed to intercept long-range ballistic missiles outside the atmosphere. Together, these systems form one of the most advanced missile defense networks in the world. During recent conflicts, Israeli interception rates for incoming missiles have been reported around 85% to over 90%, depending on the type of attack and the number of missiles involved. But missile warfare is rarely decided by technology alone. It is often decided by numbers and saturation. If a small number of missiles are launched, defenses have a strong chance of intercepting them. However, if dozens or even hundreds of missiles arrive at the same time, the situation becomes far more difficult. Military analysts often describe this as a saturation attack. The goal is not necessarily for every missile to hit its target. The goal is to launch enough missiles that some inevitably slip through the defensive shield. Iran has tested exactly this type of strategy in past attacks, firing large waves of missiles and drones simultaneously to overwhelm defenses. At the same time, Israel continues to upgrade its defensive technologies, including new interceptor systems and experimental laser defenses designed to deal with large missile barrages. In other words, the Israel-Iran missile confrontation is not simply about one weapon or one defense system. It is an ongoing technological race, a race between faster missiles and faster interception systems. And in that race, even a few seconds of reaction time can determine whether a missile is stopped or reaches its target. If hypersonic weapons like the Fatah missile become widely deployed in the Middle East, the consequences could extend far beyond a single battlefield. They could trigger a regional missile race, because once one country demonstrates a new class of weapon capable of traveling at hypersonic speeds, neighboring countries often feel pressure to develop similar capabilities or invest heavily in new defensive technologies. Israel already operates one of the most advanced missile defense systems in the world, but hypersonic weapons present a new challenge. Unlike traditional ballistic missiles, which follow predictable trajectories, maneuvering hypersonic missiles can change direction in the atmosphere, making interception far more complicated. This means that countries across the region may need to upgrade their defensive networks to deal with faster and less predictable threats. The race is not limited to the Middle East. Globally, several major powers are already investing heavily in hypersonic weapons. The United States, Russia, and China are all developing or deploying hypersonic missiles capable of traveling at Mach 5 or faster, with some systems reportedly exceeding Mach 10. These weapons are considered strategically important because they reduce reaction time and can potentially bypass traditional missile defense systems. In a region already experiencing significant geopolitical tension, the introduction of hypersonic technology could increase the risk of rapid escalation during a crisis. Missiles traveling at extremely high speeds compress decision-making timelines for military commanders and political leaders. Instead of having hours to assess a situation, leaders might have only minutes to determine whether an incoming missile represents a limited strike, a large-scale attack, or even a potential strategic threat. This compressed timeline increases the risk of miscalculation. A radar detection could be interpreted incorrectly. A defensive response might escalate faster than intended. And once missiles are launched, events can move extremely quickly. Beyond the military dimension, hypersonic weapons could also influence international alliances and security policies. Countries that feel threatened by these systems may seek closer military cooperation with allies or invest more heavily in advanced defense technologies. In this way, the development of hypersonic missiles could reshape regional security dynamics. Because while these weapons promise faster and more powerful strike capabilities, they also introduce a new level of uncertainty into global security calculations. And when uncertainty increases, the risk of escalation often rises with it. In the end, the story of the Mach 15 Fatah hypersonic missile is not just about one weapon. It is about the future of warfare. For decades, missile defense systems around the world were designed to intercept traditional ballistic missiles, predictable threats that followed known flight paths through space before descending toward their targets. But hypersonic weapons are changing that equation. They move faster, they maneuver in the atmosphere, and most importantly, they dramatically reduce the time defenders have to react. In a region like the Middle East, where distances between rival states can be measured in hundreds of kilometers rather than thousands, that speed matters even more. A missile launched from one country could reach its target in less than 10 minutes. That means radar systems must detect it almost instantly. Command centers must analyze the threat within seconds. Interceptor missiles must launch immediately, and every layer of defense must work perfectly. Because even a small failure in the system could allow a weapon traveling at 5 kilometers per second to reach its target. This is why hypersonic technology has become one of the most important military developments of the 21st century. Countries around the world, from the United States to China and Russia, are racing to develop both hypersonic weapons and new defenses capable of stopping them. Now Iran claims it has entered that race with the Fatah missile. Whether the missile can truly perform at the speeds and maneuverability claimed by Iranian officials remains a subject of debate among analysts, but the broader message is clear. The era of hypersonic warfare is beginning. And as these technologies spread, the balance between offensive missile power and defensive interception systems will continue to evolve. For countries like Israel, maintaining effective missile defense will remain a top priority. For countries developing hypersonic weapons, the goal will be to push the limits of speed, maneuverability, and precision even further. The result is a technological competition that could shape military strategy for decades. Because, in modern warfare, the difference between success and failure may come down to seconds of reaction time. Seconds that determine whether a missile is intercepted or whether it changes the course of a conflict. If you want to stay informed about the technologies, strategies, and geopolitical shifts shaping the future of global security, make sure you follow this channel. Because the next development in the hypersonic missile race may not just influence one region, it could reshape the balance of power across the entire world.